Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How you all are doing? And welcome to round 20 of ORL Split A as we make our way to Brazil in Sao Paulo for, of course, the Brazilian Grand Prix. Now, before we get into things, just in case you guys forgot what happened last time out at the Circuit of the Americas in Texas for the American Grand Prix, here's a quick look back at some of the short highlights from the event. McLaren and Alfa Romeo on the front row as the revs rise and away we go. It's a very good start for Infamous as Michael Romanidis tries to squeeze him out, but it won't quite work, and that's going to be Infamous up into the leaders. Romanidis will slot into second place. Napadovsky up into third, but it's still side by side in the battle for the lead through the S's. How brave do you like on cold tires as well? Infamous trying to hold it around the outside, and he'll make it work. There's a yellow flag behind, and that's Calcifer.
Yeah, it's just
Leonard goes really sideways. Whoa. Oliver's up ahead. I think that's a move. Romanidis down the inside. He's got to pick up the lead. And while we say that, we miss Kardanov's battle, and Kardanov does pick up the position onto crew 6. And there's Infamous. He's going to come out right alongside Napadovsky. So the undercut has not worked for Infamous, and he's actually lost some time as Vettel has retired from the session. And maybe we can see from Calcifer's perspective what has happened, as it is in the final sector. And there's a safety car! Being on board with Photon, waiting for Formula Danny to push the pedal to the metal, and that time is a now. Here we go. Photon gets really close as Danny backs up into the final corner. But look at Zoran. He's already getting past by Michael Romanidis out of a turn 20. Romanidis getting a perfect getaway under safety, under the restart as Zoran goes really deep at crew 6. He's going to have a go, but Infamous goes for 2 down into turn 12, and he makes it work as well. Go a little bit longer than they would have otherwise wanted, but Romanidis has DRS. Photon goes defensive, but not quite defensive enough, as Romanidis will look down the inside, and Napadovsky will try to follow through as well. Successfully, but up ahead, Infamous on Napadovsky looks to the inside and will go for the move, easy as you like. Formula Danny, he's going to come out dead last here, so, you know, we talked about last to first challenges. Well, Formula Danny's got one right here, right now. Formula Danny side by side down the start-finish straight. There's a yellow flag up ahead, and that is Soren. So Soren is out. Formula Danny will be praying to the gods that be... Actually, no, he won't be praying to the gods that there's another safety car. He needs as much time as he can get to find a way through. He's going to look for a move on Calcifer down the inside. His championship rival for season 10.
Alright, let's not get ahead of ourselves, Milky. We'll get hyped when things start happening. Right now, though,
things are happening right now, Byron. Formula Danny's up into 9th place.
He is. He's going to slowly keep climbing. We can keep checking the update. He's now...
Oh my god, 8th place. This guy. What's the word that we use for Formula Danny?
God. He's still
here we go. Formula Danny with the dive into the left-hander of turn 13. That's Formula Danny up into 5th. He's lost a second at this lap, so he can gain about 0.8 a lap on the likes of Napadovsky and Infamous as Formula Danny up into 4th place, heading into turn 1. It's up ahead. That's Napadovsky down the inside. I switched camera right at the wrong moment. But Infamous has the inside into the right-hander. Napadovsky will try to hold it, and this might allow Formula Danny to join in the fun. As here we go, Infamous with the switchback down the inside into 15. They're still side by side, and Formula Danny is right on the back of this, but Napadovsky has picked his moment perfectly. Formula Danny gets a little bit sideways. He's pushing as hard as he can. Napadovsky will hold on to second. Infamous too far for the dive on. Romanidis will pick up the win. Formula Danny sideways through the final corner. Napadovsky picks up that 5-second time penalty that we talked about. Danny takes second. An absolutely insane race back at America. Formula Danny getting caught out by a badly timed safety car for him, meant that he had to carve his way through. Great racing for us, but it doesn't mean that he wasn't able to pick up the win. That went over to Michael Romanidis, and of course, all of that had some significant impacts on the championship standing. The craziness of the American Grand Prix has had some implications on the Drivers' Championship. Photon is now over 100 points ahead of Velocity Hypers, and maybe his secondary championship objective can be to say an entire 100 points clear of second place. Hypers is in second, just 8 points ahead of Napadovsky, who had his 5-second time penalty removed, and as such finishes second in the American Grand Prix. Formula Danny is a further 12 points behind. He will take third place, with Triton Lehman a further 40 points back. Mark and Leopard, who didn't take part in the race, they're still 6th and 7th, with Matthias in 8th and Hayes in 9th, as Zones climbs up, gaining big points, and is now in 10th place. In the championship standings, though, Toro Rosso are in first, with Mercedes in second, just 30 points behind, courtesy of a strong result from Zones. Red Bull are a further 60 points back, as Napadovsky getting in some points, so maybe this championship is not over just yet. And Alfa Romeo, they're up to first. Fourth place, courtesy of strong results from Formula Danny and from Infamous. So this championship is not done yet by any stretch of the imagination. Williams fall to 5th, with McLaren in 6th place, and Ferrari just behind in 7th, as Haas, Renault, and Racing Point continue their battle for 8th place. Well, I am, of course, joined by Maku once again. You've been taking a bit of a hiatus over to Split B, and now you're joining me back for some Split A action. How have you been finding your time in Split B? How's the racing compared to Split A?
Yeah, I have to say, of course, the times are a little bit slower. You know, it's another split, but I think the drivers are pretty equal, and so you've seen a pretty nice race last time, and I think all the battles were pretty fair, and there are, I think, even battles through even 5, 6, or 7 corners, and yeah, it was quite exciting. And even though we had some people who had bad luck, but I think everyone enjoyed this race, and it was pretty nice to watch.
And of course, Split B are 1 week behind. They're currently live on the ORL YouTube channel, so you can find them. They're somewhere around there. They're at America, and I believe the championship could be decided. Speed Boost are currently leading that championship with, I believe it's Iceman and a Black Panther in second and third. So Speed Boost, I think if he comes second, he is guaranteed in the championship, something like that. So if you guys are friends of anyone in Split B and want to watch that, the Split B is live somewhere, so you'll be able to find that. However, though, Maku, heading over to Brazil for, of course, the Brazilian Grand Prix. 15 corners, 4.3-kilometer circuit, and a long race as well, 36 laps. Just a quick correction, it was Kardanov who finished second, as he did have his 5-second penalty removed, as it was for overtaking under safety car, and there was a weird thing that went on, but Kardanov's penalty got removed, so Formula Danny did finish third. But this track, it's not an easy track, is it, man?
No, it's not really, and I think especially the last straight, you can't really call it straight because it has like at least 2 corners, which you're going through without braking. But this is a special point where a lot of overtakes will happen, and of course we have then DRS and the other DRS straight. And yeah, especially I think in the Senna S, we'll see another few interesting things like we saw in Real F1, for example. Hopefully not that bad, but
and not with a lapped car either. But generally you
yeah.
hear a lot of drivers, they talk about their kind of ideal track, and they talk about stuff like having a good mix of high speed, low speed. Test out the aerodynamics of the car, test the engine performance of the car, etc., etc. And Brazil kind of does have that mix. Sector 1 and the start of Sector 2, high speed, fast flowing, and then you have that latter part of Sector 2 and the start of Sector 3, which is all on that slow corners, more down to the downforce of the car, and then you have that along, as you mentioned, barely a straight, but it is all flat out all the way from turn 12 heading into turn 1, and big opportunities for overtaking. And just like we saw in real life F1 at the 2019 Brazilian Grand Prix, we might be seeing some drag races to them. But in terms of overtaking points, obviously turn 1 is a bigger point. Heading down the Retta Oposta into turn 4. That's another hot point, as well as some of these tight right-hand hairpins. How much overtaking do you expect us to be able to see?
Yeah, I don't know quite, because in Split there was a lot of overtaking last time in Mexico. I've not seen that much overtaking in Split A, maybe because the drivers are more careful, I don't know. But yeah, I think we'll see, of course, a lot of maneuvers on the big straight, on the start-finish line. But I think especially in the slower sector, where you need more technique, there won't be that much things. And I think it will be like, it's not a track where we'll see the most overtakes ever, but it will be somewhere in the medium thing.
Now, in case everyone isn't already excited enough by the chance of the second place battle coming to a conclusion, we've got a lot of battles happening in the Constructors' Championship, as well as, the question mark that always is a Formula Danny. How fast is he going to be? Is it going to be a stomp, etc.? We also have something else very exciting to announce, and that's this beautiful Halo HUD that Mr. Akos Fodi has very kindly provided to us. So keep an eye out for that, because that's going to be popping up every now and then during qualifying and the race, just to make things a little bit prettier on stream. But with that said, here's a quick hot lap from our ORL Split A champion Photon before we get underway with things in qualifying. Our championship leader Photon takes us for a hot lap here at the circuit Sao Paulo, heading down into the center S. Drop it down into third gear and ease your way back on the power. Very easy to lose your back end as you make your way out through the Curva do Sol onto the Reta Oposta. Get ready to spot your braking point into the left-hander of turn 4, nice and late, about 60 meters, and hug the apex for as long as you can as you make your way back on the power and out of the Descida do Lago. And now into the double right-hander as you make your way through Ferradura and Laranjina, and now down into the tight right-hander of turn 8. Hold it as tight as you dare, and now drop it back down a gear temporarily before short shifting up and get ready for a yet another tight right-hander. Photon a little bit wide, but that won't cost him much time at all. Through Mergulo, and now just Junkao left nice and late onto the brakes. Don't take the curve as a Photon demonstrates, but you can use a curve on the exit. Now it's just a flat out run all the way through this longer straight to complete your lap. Photon does a 107.5, and we'll have to see whether tonight anyone is capable of beating that. Now, as we do get ready to get things underway for the qualifying session, we have a couple of new drivers joining us here, Tinsy, Sneaky, and Speed Barry, and we're very excited to see how all of them can perform. However, one thing that I do want to bring up is slight apologies for when I did that hot lap video. I was looking at all of the corner names, and rather than saying, turns 1, 2, 3, etc., I decided that it'd be much nicer to actually say the corner names, but my Portuguese is not the best. So, Maku, would you like me to run you through all of the corner names here at the Sao Paulo circuit?
Would be nice. I have them too, but I actually too don't know how to pronounce them.
Okay, so right, I'm gonna try this. If there are any Portuguese speaking, or I guess Spanish speaking people out there, they're gonna be laughing their heads off. So turns 1 and 2, you make your way into the center S, then through the sweeping left hand of turn 3, that's the Curva do Sol. You make your way onto the Reta Oposta, down into turns of 4 and 5 of the Descida do Lago. Then you make your way into turns 6 and 7, Ferradura and Laranjina. I think I'm doing quite well so far. Then into the tight right-hander, first gear, turn 8. That doesn't have a name, thankfully. You make your way into turn 9 slow, right down into first gear for Pineirinho. And then into turn 10 of Bico de Pato. Then through 11 of Mergullo. And then through the last real corner of the circuit, Juncao. Then you've got 13, 14, and 15. And I'm not going to try to pronounce those names. That's going to be absolutely awful. Right, and as I say that, we are getting underway with things for qualifying. And we have our first couple of drivers making their way out onto circuit. And speaking of making their way out onto circuit, we have Matthias, who is starting his lap now. So he's made his way out through turn 3, now down into the Descida do Lago. Take as much curb as you can, let the car run out wide on exit, back onto the power as you now make your way down into turns 6 and 7. Hold it tight in the middle of the corner and now drop it right down for this tight right hand of turn 8. Drop it back down into first gear temporarily before short shifting up into third. Now utilize all of those revs before dropping it right back down into first gear once again for turn 10. Back on the power. Turn 11 is a flat out. In the race, we might be seeing some lifts, and now down into Juncao for what is effectively the final corner on the circuit. Matthias will come across the line. This has been a bit of a while since we've seen him at the sharp end, so let's see what he can do. It's a 1:08.0 coming through from Matthias. Now, who else can we ride on board with? Well, Soren's on a hot lap as well here. He makes his way through the left-hander of Pinheirino. Sporting that lovely green helmet. Luminescent green, I guess we could call it. Romanidis has gone first with a 107.7, but remember that hot lap that we showed you? That was from Photon. A 107.5 is what he was able to pull out. And we know Soren does have a pace. He's going to make his way across the finish line for a 108.2. That's enough for third place, but whenever we talk about this stuff, there is one man that we do have to mention. That is, of course, Formula Danny, who's on his hot lap, but now should be able to jump ahead of Michael Romanidis. And for those of you guys who missed it, we did have an ORL special event where we invited multiple leagues to take part, and we raced against each other for at 3 different circuits. Well, Romanidis, Formula Danny, Photon were 3 of the 4 drivers of were 3 of the 4 drivers of our ORL team. Kardanov was racing, as was, I believe, Jake. So Jake and Krusik. So quite a few drivers have a lot of experience racing at, I guess, a high standard here, doing a league run here. Now, Photon, he's on the hard tires at the minute. He's only been able to get 8th so far, but he's only a second off Romanidis, and that is on the hard tires. So Photon looking fairly quick right now. As Jake, that's 16.8 in Sector 2. See how that compares to everyone else, as he is on a hot lap right now, or at least it does appear. Still waiting for some of our new drivers, Speed Barry and Tinsy, to complete their hot laps. As Jake, okay, he's starting his lap now. Won't quite pick up the slipstream from Leonard. We did see that in the ORL Interleague event. A lot of drivers giving slipstream down this massively longest straight, but not seeing anything of the sorts here for round 20 of as Drake sets a 16.8 in sector 1, almost a little bit wide through the Cida del
Yes,
Lago.
I think a little bit off. It's about 16.6 or 16.5 even was the maximum we had in. Right now, I think we have a 16.7 is quite good from the actual drivers on the track right now from their last lap. Sector 2 of Jake, I think, is a 35.041. Also, there were a few faster drivers, especially Brownie and Speedbird when he just had the
Well,
for
Jake's
second
coming
place.
across the line. It's a 108.5, which is only enough for 8th place. So he's going to have to try to find a little bit more time than that as we ride on board with Ulas. As he's coming to complete his first hot lap of the session. Just over 10 minutes remaining. Ulas will not dive into the pits, as I seem to be saying so often when I jump on board with the driver. So 108.1, and that's enough to take the Red Bull man up into 5th place. As Cardinov, he's on a hot lap as well right now. He's found a fair bit of time through Sector 1. Let's take a look in Sector 2. As the marker for that is on the exit of turn 11. Over a second up at the minute, so he's looking for a 108 dead, which will be enough for that 3rd place spot, which is currently held by Brownie. Speaking of Brownie, he's going to unknowingly give Cardinov a bit of a slipstream, but Cardinov decides to bail from his lap and dives into the pits.
His lap was invalidated.
Ah, that makes more sense. And that's, I guess, why you're here, to correct me when I like to think that something's happening when it's not. Here we go, Formula Danny starts his, what is effectively his first real lap on a set of hard tires. Has a bit of moment on the exit of the center S's onto Rata Oposta. Maybe a chance to just switch brake biases just a little bit. Brakes at about the 80-meter point down into the Descida del Lago. Back onto the power. Drops it down into 5th gear, back on to the power. Now he'll drop it all the way down into 1st. Actually, no, he keeps it in 2nd for the right-hander. But down into 1st for the Pinarino. Back onto the power, short shifting up through the gears. Once again, back down into 1st gear, just temporarily for the short shift up into 2nd. The left-hander of turn 11, and now into Junkao. Just kisses the curb on the entry. Takes a decent amount on the exit, flat out on the throttle, not even needing to hesitate for a lift. Formula Danny will come across the line, and what will it be? A 108.6 for Formula Danny, so he's only 700th shy of Vettel, but he's a 2/10 up on his Velocity teammate Photon. And Speed Bari, he goes first, so the newcomer showing that he's got a little bit of pace here, Maku.
Yeah, I hope so. Especially the newcomers, all something new it was the name says, but we had it in Split B, I think, a few races ago, where I think the Bird or something came new in and sitting on pole and then finishing first, his first race. And
Oh yeah, but he's been a massive help, especially to Williams, who I think will be picking up the Constructors' Championship in Split B. But another new driver, Teensy, is coming to start a lap, I believe, at 13.4. So here we go, starting a lap with a new driver, Teensy, in the racing point. Also nice and tight through turn 1 to get the best of runs through 2 and 3 onto the Retta Oposta. Get ready to spot your braking point down into the Descida del Lago. Takes a fair bit of curve, nice and clean so far from the Teensy. Make our way down into the short straight before turns 6 and 7. Cleanly done, and now drop it down the gears. Little bit of understeer, runs a bit wide on exit, but that's fine as he drops it down into first. And takes a bit more of a point in the square line, in and out. Down into first once again for the Bico de Pato. Through 11. Now down through the gears. Teensy using up all of the artificial grass on the entry. But the question is just how fast is this lap? We've seen Speedbarry put in an absolutely mega lap. But what can Teensy do? It's looking fairly quick, but how quick is it? It's a 108.6. That's only enough for 13th place, but still, Speedbarry, that is an insane lap up there.
yeah, 200 of the second place of Michael Romanidis, and I thought Formula Danny wanted to go for another because it looked quite quick.
Okay, so I was literally just thinking this. The zone sets of 107.9. That is enough for 6th place. But I was thinking, you know, you've got someone here who is 0.2 quicker than an esports driver. Is this an esports driver that's just using a different name? But I have got confirmation that is the Pro Challenge Series winner and will be making his way to Pro Draft. And I guess it's kind of weird because, you know, we always just know who the esports drivers are, as they tend to use their full names on Steam. But I guess we'll be seeing Speedbarry in esports soon then, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. Well, then he gets some practice here. But I think it's always cool to race without pressure in these leagues because it's just for fun, and I think that's the main reason why you're racing.
However, Krusix is on a lap right now as he makes his way down the start-finish straight. Don't ask me what that camera angle was. 107.8, but it is not, but it is invalidated. Now, Maku, from 3rd all the way down to 12th, separated by 3.5 tenths of a second. That is incredible.
Yeah, but I think we see that often here because the drivers are the quick lap times are always that close to each other. And then it depends really on your how you manage yourself and your car in the race.
Riding on board with Leonard, he's run a little bit wide into turn 8. Hopefully that won't affect him too much, and I think that just goes to show just how close the racing we get to have in ORL is the fact that, you know, we see this and it is kind of standard. We saw some ridiculously close margins. I believe it was back at Japan, the entire field separated by 1 second alone, and that was with Formula Danny putting in his mega lap. So there you go. But Leonard is actually going to dive into the pits. Who else is on a hot lap? Krusix dives into the pits as well. What about Vettel? He's on a slow lap. What about Teensy? He's making his way through the right, left. But I want to ride on board with a Formula Danny, as he's having a bit of a struggle through turn 1. Carries a bit too much speed. Tries to scrub it off. Okay, so that's why I don't recognize Speedbarry. He is the PS4 Pro Challenge Series winner.
No, oh, and Teensy went wide and aborted his lap, I think. Yeah, and it was invalidated, so.
Okay, but I guess Formula Danny is going for these medium set of tires, so well, he's going to have a bit more of a challenge. We've seen him beat Romanidis with this strategy back in Mexico. He probably would have done it as well at America if it wasn't for that safety car, which was caused by Vettel retiring incorrectly. But with Speed Barry, maybe he won't be able to do that this time round. Here we go. Formula Danny is on a slow lap, so he'll be starting a hot lap this time round. Let's ride on board with a Photon, though, because he's a 10th up on his best, so he's going to be getting ahead of Tinsei, maybe ahead of Vettel as well, and if he can find another couple of 10ths, he could maybe make his way into the top 10. Michael Romanidis is also on a hot lap, so we will ride on board as soon as we can. Photon will come across the line. A 108.2, just shy of 12. But what about Romanidis? He is on his hot lap right now, making his way through the left hand of turn 11. 300ths up, but that's not going to be enough to close in onto Speed Barry. What about Matthias? He's going to come across the line now. Shortest run, 107.7, just shy of Romanidis, who does dive into the pit, so he's not going to be able to complete a lap. Kardinov is a few hundredths up. What about Speed Barry? He's just started his lap. Formula Danny will come across the line. It's a 107.8, and that's a 5th place on the medium tires. Are you kidding me, Maku?
Yeah, you just see how quick Formula Danny is, and that absolutely, you know, you have no words for this.
Okay, Leonard is on a lap. What about Photon? He's on a cool-down lap. Let's ride on board with the Speed Buddy.
But also how close this battle between second and third is. It's 3,000. No, it's not. Ah, it's maths. I can't. It's too late.
770, not 702.
Yeah.
Oh, someone's just jumped up. That is...
Brownie?
that Brownie jumping up into 6th place. Good lap from him. But here comes Speed Buddy on the soft tires. What's it going to be? It's a 107.4. He goes quicker by 200ths of a second. That's a very quick lap as Ulas goes 8th. Who else is on a hot lap? Zones is, but he's slower than before. What about Leonard? He's coming across the line. He's a 10th up so far, and this could take him all the way up to 5th if he nails this final sector. He goes up into 8th. Look how close it is. 1,000th off Brownie. That is incredible. And from 2nd all the way down to 14th place, less than half a second separating over 10 drivers. Absolutely crazy close here. But Photon, he's actually on a quicker lap as we speak. He's found a 10th or so, and he'll go up into 12th. But those are some worn medium tires that he will be starting the race on. And it does mean that, you know, from 2nd down to 14th is even closer.
From 7th to 11th, they're even in between 1/10 of a second all the time. That's crazy.
That is absolutely incredible. Vettel and Tinsei are the only ones a little bit off the pace. And we know we do see some switches between split A and B at a time. So I do believe at the end of the season there is going to be almost an event race, a playoff race between some of the guys at the lower end of split A and at the top end of split B to fight for the remaining spots in split A. Which should be an interesting watch, to say the least.
Yeah, I think.
But yeah, that's qualifying over and done with. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, in the chat to, you know, drop down who you guys think is going to win the race. Speed Barry looking mighty impressive on those soft tires, but we'll have to see what he can pull out in the race, whether he can convert that qualifying race pace. All right then, Maku, what's your prediction then for the top 3?
Yeah, basically, I think Formula Danny will get up, but I don't know if he will win. It's a different strategy, but I think he has a possibility. I think we see one of the Triton guys up there. I think I would put my money on Lehman this time.
Okay. Well,
Yeah,
I'm going
something
to
like
go with a top 3 esport driver lockout. So I'm predicting Formula Danny to win, but here's an interesting one. I'm going to say Speed Barry gets 3rd and Romanidis picks up 2nd, but Speed Barry is going to have a time penalty that will cause that, and he will finish 2nd on track. That is my prediction.
yeah, I'll be so with Speedberry in third 2, but I had Lehman in second.
Oh, so you don't believe in Romanidis and Cardinov then?
Well, I wasn't like updated on things. I just haven't had him in mind. I think he can pull out something too, but I don't know. Podium this time.
Perhaps. Podium is entirely possible as drivers line up to begin the formation lap. Starting on pole is Speed Barry ahead of Michael Romanidis as it's Williams row 2 with Matthias ahead of Lehman. Cardinov takes a 5th ahead of Formula Danny, who is starting on the medium compound tyres. Brownie sits in 7th ahead of Leonard as Ulas and Zones round out the top 10. Soren takes 11th ahead of Photon, who did qualify on the medium tyres. However, everyone from 11th down has a free choice. Jake starts in 13th ahead of Krusix, with Vettel and Tinsey being a little bit off the pace in qualifying. Now, in the Drivers' Championship standings, Photon is leading over 100 points ahead of Hypers, with Napadovsky and Formula Danny hunting him down for that 2nd place spot. Lehman is in 5th ahead of Mark, who has Leopard just 5 points behind. Matthias is a further 13 points down in 8th, with Hayes in 9th and Zones tied for 9th on 56 points. Nameless in 11th, Etnik in 12th, with the Crew 6 and Romanidis climbing up the order.
And in Constructors Championship, we have Toro Rosso still leading with 302 points. In second place with Red Bull Racing with 217 points, and down the teams get closer to each other. We have Mercedes with points, Williams with 169 points, and Alfa Romeo with just 1 point behind Williams. Ferrari in 6th with 132 points, McLaren 108 points. Haas in 8th, Renault in 9th, and Racing Point in 10th.
A lot on the line in the Constructors' Championship, as well as that battle for 2nd place in the Drivers' Championship. And with Napadovsky not taking part here in Brazil, it's an excellent opportunity for Formula Danny to leapfrog both Napadovsky and Hypers in the Championship standings as the revs begin to rise and the lights will go out for the Brazilian Grand Prix. It looks like it's a really good start from Romanidis as we make our way down into turn 1, but Speed Barry should be able to hold the position as they go side by side through the Senna S, and Romanidis will pick up the position as Speed Barry is now compromised, and Lehman is right on his tail as we make our way down the Retro Oposta. Lehman might even have a look as something's happened behind as we see that Vettel has retired.
Zoran and Vettel collided. I think Vettel hit a wall and saw a complete front wing, and he retired now too. I don't know if it's from damage
As
or
that's a
if he
dive bomb
just...
coming in from behind. Matthias and Formula Danny. Formula Danny will hold onto the position though as it's Romanidis from Lehman. Formula Danny up into 3rd already. A crazy good start from him. But here's the shocker Speeder Barry all the way down in 8th place at the moment as he's disconnected from the session as well.
Yeah, maybe some connection issues. Oh, that's bad. Oh, wait.
Arsen Kardanov up in 9th place, but up ahead is all starting to congest as Michael Romanidis pulling away a lead at the front of the pack. Formula Danny, though, starting the hunt onto Lehman. You put your money on him, Maku, and Lehman doing a good job so far.
Surely it will not take long until Formula Danny gets close enough to him. At least when the DRS opens, they will battle for the position. And yeah, I don't know if Lehman will really battle for it because he knows that Formula Danny is just faster than him. Which tires are they on?
Medium.
Well, he has the softs, but I think he will. I don't know if he will fight. Maybe.
Oh, Speed Barrier has been able to rejoin the session. Let's just take a look if he's back to normal racing ways. Romanidis leads with over a second. A gap to Lehman as Formula Danny, Leonard, Zones, Photon all getting absolutely fantastic starts. And that's somewhat.
And DRS is enabled now. Oh, and someone spun off. I think Jake spun off.
Yeah, so Jake's had
first corner,
contact with someone down the start, finished straight, as Ulas picks up our first time penalty of the race. Not quite sure what that is for, but it is still Romanidis from Lehman from Napadovsky on lap 3 of 36.
So quite a few incidents in the first 3 laps.
Now, Formula Danny, this was a race that he had pretty much won back in the ORL Interleague Cup, and it was completely his. Qualified on pole, led the entire race, but he had 1 time penalty for speeding into the pit lane, and it meant that Romanidis won by about half a second. So Formula Danny, I'm sure that is in the back of his head, and he'll know when going into the pits just to play a little bit safer as Matthias sets the new fast lap of the race as Speed Barry retires from the session, clearly unable to regain control of his car. And that's a massive, massive shame for him.
As Leonard drops down the grid, now behind Brownie and Zones, and
yeah, and that's Leonard now looking for the
Oh,
inside, and he goes
Leonard
sideways. And I believe that was contact with, was it with a Photon or was it with Crucix? No, sorry, it was with Zones. And that sends him sideways into the Descida del Lago. Almost a replica of what happened to Vettel lap 1 back in, what was it, the 2011 championship?
I'm not good at numbers.
But do you think I'm good at numbers, Maku?
No, I don't know. I'm good at maths, but I'm not good at remembering numbers with, you know.
Okay. It was in the 2010s at some point. That's all that matters, right? It was last century. I mean, we can't blame you, but yeah, it was over a decade ago.
Century.
Sorry, century. Yeah, I'm not good with numbers either. Sorry, Maku.
It was in the last century. Well, not quite.
No. That was Hill and Schumacher battling for the championship. But Romanidis now with a 1.5 second lead over Lehman. Formula Danny and Matthias still right there, and it's been a while since we've seen both Triton drivers right up at the sharp end. I believe, I can't even remember when it was. I think it was Spa. We saw Lehman right up at the front, but Matthias is the one that has been, you know, almost a little bit disappointing lately. He's just been much further behind than where we would have expected to see Lehman, but he seems to be right back up to his high performance level. Ulas currently rounding out the top 10, but they're on the back of this train that goes all the way up to Brownie in 5th place. Remember, Jake did have that incident, as did Leonard, and they're down in 12th and 13th place respectively.
Yeah, Formula Danny looks not too fast at the moment. He's a little bit faster in sector 1.
Zones and Photon side by side. Photon around the outside into turn 1, and he's going to be able to make the move as stick. Kardanov has DRS, and so does Zones. And maybe we'll be seeing something heading down into the descent of Interlagos. Kardanov will be forced to slot in behind his Mercedes teammate. And don't forget, this is also the battle for first place in the Constructors' Championship. Toro Rosso getting hunted down by Mercedes. And in fact, Mercedes are only 30 points behind. So Stones and Kardanov finish ahead of Photon. The championship is wide open heading into Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, but that's what we want to see, right? A little bit of tension until.
Precisely so, and to answer the questions of where is Napadowski, we don't know. We were hoping that he'd be here to challenge Formula Danny for this second place spot in the championship, but it appears he is absent for tonight. Hopefully he'll be able to turn up for Abu Dhabi, so it's not a clear win. But Zones, look at the closing speed, dives to the inside, heading down into the center S. Photon will be forced to slot in behind and try to get the better run as we make our way through the Curva do Sol. And Photon will have DRS, but does he have the drive? And you can see Kardanov and Krusix in the background as Photon looks toward the inside and down into the Descida del Lago. Photon will reclaim a 6th place. But Zones is right on his tail, and these two are having a proper ding-dong battle as Zones looks to the outside as we make our way into the double right-handers of turns 5 and turn 6 and 7 through Pinarino. And Zones still right there as Brownie starting to pull away, and Photon just needs to be able to get within that 1 second zone just so he can pull that little bit away from Zones. Oh, it's down behind. Actually, Ulas getting really close here. Kardanov pretty close as well, but everyone has a DRS, so in the end, it doesn't matter. But look how close Formula Danny is getting onto Lehman. He's going to get a much better drive as we make our way through the Curva do Sol onto the Reto Posta. Formula Danny has a DRS this time, less than a 10th behind as Lehman will go defensive. Formula Danny looks towards the outside and he'll pick up the 3rd place. There's almost a bit of contact, but Danny has it covered. Back behind, Photon holds on to 6th place, or actually reclaims 6th place from Zones as this two-way battle will continue. Oh, Zone's getting a little bit sideways on the exit of Ladanina. But look at Krusix looking so racy, and this is something I've been discussing with a few of the other drivers in Split A and B. Krusix has been mighty impressive lately. You know, starting off the season, he was towards that bottom end of the championship. And now, you know, he's constantly racing for these big points, and the amount of pace he has gained over this season has been really impressive. So interested to see what he's got for season 12. But Photon starting to stretch a gap from Zones, and I think he's got the position in the bag now, and he can look to hunt down Brownie in 5th place. And speaking of drivers that have been improving over the season, Brownie has been having a slight improvement, but this is by far his best performance of the year. Make our way into Ferradura. So still close on Kardanov as there's almost a bit of contact down into the right hand of Pico de Pato.
I think he's definitely faster, but just can't find the way through with a little bit of oversteer, and I think that's what keeps him from overtaking. He can't get these exits right. He went to this DRS straight into the 2nd DRS, and then he can't get close enough to Kardanov to overtake.
As Kardanov gets quite close to Zones, as Photon is actually dropping back from Brownie here. As speaking of Zones, he picks up a 3-second time penalty. Only Zones and Ulas have time penalties at the current point in time. But look at Gardenov, he's right on the back of the zones as we make our way down the short straight into Veradura, but Gardenov will have to sit behind, and this battle can go either way. The crucial thing to remember, though, is Photon is on these medium tires, and you know, after everyone stops and Photon's onto the soft tires, he could be challenging for that third place, maybe even all the way up to Romanidis in the first, depending on how much quicker those softs are than the mediums. Also, hello Paku, good to see you back again. Familiar face in the chat, and yes, Romanidis is absolutely checking out with this. 3 seconds up as Kardanov down the inner side of the zone, so we go. And there's contact between the two Mercedes drivers, but Kardanov picks up the position as Zone's forced to back out. And now look at Krusix right on the tail as he's forced to take a wide line on the exit. And I don't think he's going to be able to find anything down into the Descida del Lago as he's just too far back now. However, Photon now starting to close into Brownie, so I think those medium tires really starting to come online, or more specifically, the soft tires starting to lose their edge.
For example, Lehman and Matches still can keep up with Formula Dani pretty good. Maybe Formula Dani isn't pushing that hard at the moment, but they're still right on his tail.
Half a second or 0.6 of a second. It's a gap from Formula Dani down to Lamas. Once again, you see Krusix coming out of Juncao and just has that little moment with the rear end as Krusix dives into the pit. So this is big for Krusix as, oh no, Krusix speeding into the pit lane. And that is devastating. But if he can get the undercut to work, that would still be impressive for him, and then maybe he can try to stretch out a bit of a gap. But look at Photon already 1 second behind Brownie now. Formula Dani though staying on this 3-second border with Romanidis as Lehman and Matthias staying around that half a second gap.
So then let's take a look if Photon can make this overtake already this round. I think Brownie might be just a little bit too far ahead now. Or is he? Photon is like quite quick.
Oh, here we go. Photon looking around the outside as we make our way down into the ZRS, and he picks up the position fairly comfortably as well, as Brownie might decide to come in the pits this time as Kardanov forced to defend from Zones, but Zones is going to get the better run coming through turn 3 and down onto the Retoposta. Zones inching ahead, and he's going to pick up the position as Kardanov forced to slot down into 8, but there's a bit of contact between them. Zones will hold on to the position, though Kardanov won't try to use that to get back ahead of his Mercedes teammate.
And Ulas has decided to go in the hard tire. Oh, just a little moment of Brownie. What do you think do the others do? Especially the ones on medium now. Will they go for a soft?
I mean, Krusix has gone for the medium, so I guess that has to be the way to go. And I'm not sure. Maybe it's a 2-stop strategy if they do mediums at this early stage. I'm not sure, as Matthias and Kardanov, they're going to dive into the pits, and if you can do 14 laps on the soft tires that you did qualifying on, then you should be able to do at least 20 laps on the medium. So I think the one stop is perfectly fine here.
Yeah, I think you should even do the medium soft. That should be fine, actually.
But Matthias and Kardanov will be making their way out of the pits. Where is a Krusix? He's got Jake and Leonard battling up ahead, and he's going to catch right up to the pair of them through the left-hander. But once again, he takes his wide line on the exit, and it does cost him. Now, Kardanov will feed out just behind. Actually, he's going to come out behind Ulas. And Krusix, can he pick up the position? And Jake and Leonard side by side through the double left-hander. And Krusix just can't find a way through. Leonard and Jake just side by side. This is just a roadblock block for Krusix. And maybe Leonard, he is a Krusix teammate in the Haas car, might let Krusix through, but they're still side by side. There's just no space for Krusix at all. But Krusix is going to try to find a way down into the right-hander. And he's going to be able to pick up a position up into 10th place. But Kardanov is not far behind this battle as Krusix right on the tail of Leonard coming through Junkao.
And Lehman and Zones just decided to pit.
So we're going to have to see where they will feed out relative to Matthias as Krusix will complete the move up into 9th place. Now Zones in the pits, he's going to come out really far back as the undercut proving really big for Krusix, who picks up a 3-second time penalty as well.
And Lehman just got right, just got out of the pits right behind his teammate. Maybe got a little bit of a toe on this second gear.
Now, Zones has come out right behind Kardanov, but Jake and Leonard, they're still side by side. Yeah, Krusix has come and gone, but Jake and Leonard still are having this absolutely cracker of a battle. But Kardanov and Zones are at the tail of this is getting mighty feisty between these two. 2 Red Bulls, a Haas, and 2 Mercedes. Close as you like, a nose to tail as they make their way down into Sector 3. There's a yellow flag in Sector 1. I'm not sure what that is, as Romanidis is into the pits, but down behind, Ulas gets a little bit sideways on exit, and Kardanov will pick up the position in a flash. Kardanov makes his way up into 11th. Zones is a little bit too far back to be able to find anything as Leonard dives into the pit. But Ulas is looking like he's a little bit all over the place. Maybe he'll have a look. He's going to go for the dive bomb down into turn 1. And Zones watches all of this unfold as Ulas reclaims the position. All of this falling into the hands of Krusix perfectly. But Kardanov, he's going to have a go. He brakes early as Ulas a little bit late on the brakes on those hard tires. And Ulas knows that if he can just keep Kardanov behind for long enough, eventually those hard tires will be better than the mediums at the end of the race. There's a bit of a lag spike coming in, and they're ghosting through each other, and that's a perfect opportunity for Kardanov to be able to find a way through, just a drive through Ulas to pick up the position as Zones gets to watch this beautiful spectacle from Codemasters occur as Kardanov does pick up 10th place, and he's got Jake right in front, and he will have a DRS as they make their way down into Junkao for the 17th time tonight. As Jake dives into the pits, that means Ulas is going to close in onto Kardanov. Jake picks up a 5-second time penalty as that pit detector. What was that from Kardanov?
I don't know.
So Kardanov just lagged up back into Ulas, and I think Ulas has front wing damage from that. There was contact, and there's a bit more contact with the Zones there, but Kardanov having some lag issues, and I think it might have ruined Ulas's wing a bit there. I'm not sure, but definitely lag had a big impact. There's a yellow flag in Sector 1. I don't know what it's for. Jake is retired after picking up that 5-second speeding penalty. And from 16, there are just 12 drivers remaining.
Is it maybe Jake retiring? I don't know. Isn't he just retired?
Yeah, he went in the pits, got a 5-second penalty, and then I saw the retire from session come up as Krusix picks up a 7th place on Brownie. Down the start finish straight, not too much of an issue. Now, he's over 5 seconds down on Lehman and Matthias, but with 18 laps remaining, he can catch that up. He needs to be catching on average about 0.3 a lap, which is doable, but he has to put in the stint of his life.
Yeah,
However,
we know half the race distance.
Yeah, and we saw Photon putting in some quick laps as well. He put in the fast lap for a bit before Romanidis took that away from him. And, you know, we saw 12 laps coming through from the soft tire runners, so, you know, 13 laps is definitely doable for Formula Danny and Photon because they'll be on fresh tires. But Formula Danny actually coming into the pits a little bit earlier than expected. He doesn't speed into the pits this time around. Now, the question is, how far behind Matthias and Lehman does he come out? Because if he comes out behind Krusix, I think that is his race kind of ruined a bit. If he can come out behind Lehman, that would be really, really good. And we can see Matthias and Lehman making their way through. But actually, Formula Danny on old mediums goes up faster than Matthias and Lehman. And he will hold on to what is effectively the effective second position in the race.
The only guys who haven't stopped are Foden and Tensei, their teams.
Yeah, precisely so. Now, Photon was 4 seconds down on Formula Danny, so Photon, if he pits this lap, he will come out ahead of Krusix, but let's see how far Photon wants to take these medium tires. I wouldn't be surprised if we do see him pit, not this lap, but a lap or two later.
And we have really a great battle between the two Williams drivers.
Yeah, as Formula Danny catches up over to Tensei, and he should pick up a DRS as well.
Yeah.
And go for a fastest lap of the races. He makes his way onto a lap at 20 as Photon does indeed dive into the pits. He'll come out behind Matthias and Lehman. Tensei into the pits as well. Now, Photon should come out ahead of Krusix, as actually Brownie's just found a move onto Krusix, and that's really great stuff from Brownie. He's on slightly fresher medium tires, and Kardanov and Zones have caught back up as well here, so this, I guess, four-way battle for 6th place is about to recommence, and maybe Ulas will be part of it as well on those hard tires. So, Maku, we have a question in the chat, and I think I already know your answer to this, but Matthias versus Lehman, who's going to come out on top?
Yeah, so basically what I said before was that Lehman would be in second on the podium. And I still think he can do that, even though he's now behind his teammate. But yeah, let's see who's the better driver for today. They're always battling those two.
Yeah, they're always so close in pace. It was a little bit like when we had Hazer and Napadovsky in the Red Bulls driving together. So closely matched on pace. It was really, really great to see. And same would have been for Mercedes as well when Donoso and Hypers were both in the same team, both very, very quick drivers. However, Photon is closing in on Matthias and Lehman, 2.2 seconds down, as Krusix still within that 1 second gap of Brownie and Kardanov, just staying within that DRS zone. What is effectively a train of 5 drivers all in the battle for 6th place.
Another interesting question: do you think Formula Danny will go for another soft stop? Because I don't know if he can pull out 18 laps on that.
Oh, that's true. 18 laps on the softs might be an arse, but might be the same for Photon and Tensei, and I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll have to see if he can pull out maybe, I guess what pit stops are about 20 seconds. If he can get to lap 25 and he's a few seconds ahead, maybe it'll work. But Lehman battling with Matthias, and Lehman will pick up the position on the start-finish straight. And I'm not going to lie, I just think these two Williams drivers, they're not going to battle too hard. They'll just overtake each other on the DRS zones just to help drag each other further and further along.
Yeah.
Krusix also picks up the position onto Brownie. Tries too far to get anything to work down into the Descida del Lago. Formula Danny, 1.3 seconds down on Romanidis. We'll keep an eye on how that gap changes, but I don't know. We'll have to see whether Formula Danny can stretch these softs to the end or whether he will have to go for a two-stop strategy. We saw him do this last year in Brazil, and it cost him the win and effectively the championship as well, where he wasn't able to catch up enough to James, or I think he had a 3-second time penalty, and he wasn't able to stretch out a 3-second gap. It was like 2.9, like 2.8 or something like that. So Formula Dani, he doesn't have the best of experiences here at Brazil. As Cruisix gets really sideways on the exit of Junção, and Brownie right on the tail. Up ahead, though, Photon's going to have a logo for fourth place down the inside into the center. He'll make the move work, but behind. Cruisix and Brownie battling. Brownie picks up 6th place of 4, and now as Photon is on the tail of Lehman in the battle for 3rd place. Photon will look to the inside, and Lehman won't defend too hard, although he'll try to hang it around the outside. But it won't quite work. Cruisix regains a position on Brownie as Lehman tugs right in behind Photon. And Photon now 6.5 seconds down on Formula Dani. I don't think he's going to be able to catch that one up as Michael Romanidis now just 4/10 ahead of Dani. He's closed in by almost a second on this last lap. Let's just compare lap times between these two esports drivers as they come to start lap 24 of 36. Romanidis a 10-pointer for Formula Dani. I didn't quite see. Formula Dani looks to get the good old switcheroo through the center S's. He'll get the better drive, and he should be close enough to make a move down into turn 1. Romanidis will go defensive as Dani tucks right in behind. Looks toward the outside as they go side by side down into the Descida del Lago. And Romanidis will drop down into 2nd place. Cruisix, though, pulling a bit of a gap to Brownie, who's now being closed in by Cardinov as Ulas has fallen over a second behind zones. Romanidis has fallen outside that 1 second gap. Brownie still within touching distance of Cruz. Runs a little bit wide into Tao. Tyres a bit too far back on Lehman to find anything into turn 1. These two drivers probably both in voice comms together, so probably talking to each other on how they want to do their strategy, how much they want to battle, and whether they think that they could potentially take this race back to Photon in the latter stages of the race where those soft tyres will really be at the end of their lifespan. Group for 6th place starting to coalesce together once again. Cruisix from Brownie followed by the two Merc drivers, and as things stand, this is going to be a good result for Toro Rosso. They will stretch their lead over Mercedes and maybe even secure the Constructors' Championship tonight. I think the gap currently is 31 points and they need, 45 points? So they need to gain about 15 points, and at the moment, I think they gain about 10 or something like that. But look how close Zones is to Cardinov as we start lap 26.
It was also a good result for the Williams driver. And they may be even able to overtake the Mercedes in the Constructors' Championship with their result as it is right now.
Yeah, Williams currently sitting on 169 points. Alfa Romeo only 17 ahead, but Williams will actually close right up to Red Bull in third in the championship. But Formula Dani's 1st place should be enough to keep Alfa up in at least 4th, if not 3rd place in the standings. But Danny has already pulled out a 2-second gap to Michael Romanidis with 10 laps remaining. So I don't think that 2-stop is going to work. I mean, maybe he'll...
Yeah.
If he stops again, he'll probably be gaining about a second a lap. But if he does it, he needs to make sure that he's coming out ahead of Lehman and Matthias. That is the key bit, as Brownie and Kruzik's getting very close into turn 1. Looks like no rain is forecasted either.
You know, the problem would be he would have to stop now or next this lap or next lap. So yeah, he can't pull out that much in that time.
Oh, as Kardanov gets a
he will
really
be
good run coming out of the Descida del Lago around the outside into Ferradura. And Kardanov all the way around the outside as we head down into turn 8. Still on the outside, still Kardanov. And Kardanov will pick up the position as we go into the Pinarino. But Kruzix is not giving up just yet, but he will be forced to as he drops down into 8th place. Good move by Kardanov as he gets a little bit sideways into 10. But great job from the Russian driver. Lehman doesn't defend too hard from Matthias, who claims 4th position. Zone's getting close on to Kruzix, but this battle isn't done yet. And, you know, kudos to Brownie, who's been at the front of this battle. He hasn't had DRS, but he's defended so well. Kardanov closing in onto Brownie and might be able to pick up this position and maybe even start a long charge for Lehman. You never know, if Lehman picks up a penalty or two, Kardanov could then proceed to pick up a 5th place in the championship. In terms of penalties, Zones, Kruzix and Ulas all have penalties. Kruzix with 8 seconds worth and the others with just 3. So no matter how you see this going, Kruzix is actually going to drop all the way down to 11th place with Tinsei finishing up ahead. And that's going to be a bit of a poor result for Haas, who Kruzix and Leonard had been doing bits for Haas, climbing them all the way up to 8th place in the standings. But with Racing Point and I forget who the last team is, Renault, not picking up any bigger points, and they should be able to hold on to 8th in the standings.
Yeah, well, Brownie will be taking some points for. I don't know if it's enough to. Yeah, well, for 8th place, we got like 3 or 4 or 5 points, something like that. And but Brownie's in 6th, so he gets a few points too. They will say behind, of course, I think, but still they're closer, and maybe there will be some position swapping Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, and you have to remember, for both Alfa Romeo and for McLaren, they don't have their second drivers in the sense in Infamous and Leopard taking part. So it's going to cost them a little bit in terms of this championship. McLaren, they've been making strong inroads, and they were only 20 points behind Williams. And you have to think that if Leopard was racing, he would be ahead of Matthias and Lehman, battling with Photon, and would have been enough to take McLaren up to at least a 5th in the standing, maybe close back into Alpha. And it's the same thing for Alfa Romeo. If Infamous was here, he'd be up there battling with Photon, and again, even more points going towards that team. However, we can't forget about this battle for 6th place. This is bunching up once again. Brownie from Kardanov, from Kruzix, from Zones. Ulas a further 2 seconds behind as we begin lap 31 of 36. Zones gets a little bit sideways on exit. And I guess, well, Formula Danny and Photon will not be stopping again, so The question is, will their soft tires really fall off, as Kardanov is going to take a look around the outside down into the center S, but he'll just look to get the switcheroo. Has to be careful that Krusix doesn't show his nose, but it's all good so far. Kardanov right on the tail of Browdy. This might be his chance. He'll look to the outside as we make our way down the Reto Posta and into the left hand of a turn of 4. But Brownie holds on to the position magnificently, and he's doing an absolutely fantastic job as Kardanov looks for the inside down into Ferradura, but Brownie shuts the door in his face.
Absolutely perfect, but legitimate.
6 taps the back of a Kardanov's rear, and hopefully that doesn't cause any damage. It was a light tap, but maybe it could have just made his front wing go a light green color. That can cost you, 1 or 2 tenths a lap, which in a battle that is as close as this is, could be so pivotal. Kardanov this time right on the tail of Brownie, who will go defensive, and you have to feel that this time Kardanov has made the move work. Kardanov up into 6th place, but can Brownie stay close enough as we make our way down into the Reto Posta? Kardanov gets a much better exit, and it's actually Krusix who is really close on to Brownie. Brownie will get the RS, but so does Krusix as we make our way down Reto Posta into the Descida del Lago. Krusix gets close. There's a bit of contact between the two of them, but Kardanov is well and truly clear up into 6th place. But can Brownie stay within touching distance? And now, as he not only has to try to stay with Kardanov, but keep Krusix and Zones behind him. While Formula Danny has stretched out a 4-second gap to Michael Romanidis at the front of the pack, with just 4 laps remaining of the Brazilian Grand Prix. I'm not gonna lie, I've been actually really impressed with Brownie's drive so far, because if I'm not sure if you've got the spreadsheet up and how he's been performing lately, but from what I remember, I think like 8th has been his best, and it was a one-off. But this race is just seemed a really good performance from him.
No, actually, he was 2nd place one time.
Monaco?
Yes.
That doesn't count. That doesn't count. I don't.
All right.
There were like 8 drivers at Monaco because no one wanted to race at Monaco, so we can't count that
But
one.
then he was 7th in France.
Okay.
So yeah, 8 was close, but yeah.
Six though, he's just been struggling to find a way through, and no denying that he has had a pace, but just this battle, no matter. Oh, there's contact, and that zones into the back of a Krusix, and zones, dearie
will be
me.
very angry.
Yeah, Krusix, and it felt like something was gonna happen, and Zones, I think he slowed down as well at the end. He wanted to let Krusix back through, but Krusix was just well into the grass.
Krusix even have to pit.
Yeah, I think Krusix has just decided he might as well go for a fastest lap now. Yeah, that is gutting. But Zone's going to have a go on to Ulas, and I guess with battling so close at such a tight circle like Brazil, it was only a matter of time before something had to happen somewhere. Until then, it had been actually a spectacularly clean race from everyone, and we had seen Krusix tapping the back of Kardanov a couple of times, but it was just light taps, and well, Zones maybe got a bit of revenge for his Mercedes teammate there.
But will this fast lap count at all? Because he's in 12th place now, so he's out of the point.
That's true. It wouldn't count. He can take the fast lap away from Formula Danny. There we go. Calculated. Up ahead though, Brownie on the tail of Kardanov, and Brownie is not done with his razor just yet. Down the inside of a soon-to-be esports driver. Good job from Brownie, but Cardinov right on the tail as we make our way down through the Curva do Sol. Brownie will keep it defensive, but the battle for 6th place rages on as Ulas picks up a 3-second time penalty. But side by side in the battle for 6th, Cardinov gets forced out wide, but they'll stay side by side as they make their way down through the double left-hander. Cardinov with the inside down into Ferradura, and Brownie, can he find the grip on the outside? No, he cannot. Cardinov will hold on to 6th place for now, but Brownie is still right there in this battle, and we're not done yet. And of course, you cannot forget Lehman and Matthias up ahead as Formula Danny starts the final lap of the race.
Yeah, basically, it's pretty sure that he's now 4.5 seconds ahead of Michael Roman.
Hang on, up ahead, our final lap. This is a final battle between the two Williams drivers, and Matthias will go down the inner side, but Lehman's not done yet. Oh, there's contact, and Lehman goes sideways. Can he stay out of the wall? Yes, he can, but behind, that's Cardinov up into 6th place, but Brownie will look down the inside. He'll pick up the position as Cardinov. He looks for the switchback, is right on the tail of the Renault. We saw them side by side down into the Decido de Lago on the previous lap. Can they do it again? Does Brownie have anything extra? They're so low on the ERS department. Cardinov only with 10%, and that extra 10% that Brownie have might be enough to secure him 6th place. It's Formula Danny who still leads from Romanidis and Photon. Matthias should have 4th place in the bag after contact between the two Williams drivers into turn 1, but Cardinov is on the tail of a Brownie. Zones on the back of Ulas. We talked about the run out of the final corner, but Cardinov getting really sideways, and I think his tires are completely done and dusted. Brownie should pick up 6th place. He just needs to get Junkao right, and I think he has got it done. Zones is too far back. Formula Danny picks up the win ahead of Romanidis and Photon. Matthias will take 4th ahead of Lehman. Brownie will take a fantastic 6th place ahead of Cardinov. Ulas will take 8th ahead of Zones, who jumps ahead after time penalties. Tinsei will get 10th, just half a second shy of Ulas. Krusix and Leonard will take 11th and 12th place. And the question is, can Krusix get a fastest lap of the race? Here we go. Krusix is going for it. Can he beat Formula Danny's lap? He'll come across the line. No, 109.2. Krusix will be able to do it. And Leonard might be able to beat that as well. I don't know. It was quite close. But wow, Maku, what a final couple of laps there.
Yeah, that was pretty intense. Especially the collision with the Williams was pretty bad luck, especially for Lehman.
But we knew how close they were through the entire race. That they had the gap, and I don't think either of them will mind. They, you know, if they didn't feel it was fair, they knew they had the time back. And if they felt it was unfair, you know, Matthias could have lifted off, let Lehman take the place back.
Yeah, I think they will just talk about it, and then everything will be okay, because I think they'll get along very good.
Precisely so, but wow, end of the race, and there you go. I'm level 32 silver. Thank you very much for the bonus points. So Formula Danny takes the win ahead of Michael Romanidis. Photon in 3rd with Matthias and Lehman 4th and 5th. Brownie takes 6th ahead of Cardinov with Zones and Ulas in 8th and 9th. As Tinsei complete the top 10. Krusix and Leonard steal the hot lap and the fastest lap point away from Formula Danny.
And in the chat, we've already have the vote for the driver of the day.
Precisely so. So on that note, we're going to be heading into a short break, but don't go anywhere, guys, as we'll be back with driver interviews, and make sure you vote for your driver of the day in the straw poll link on the Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. And joining us up for our driver interviews are the two Triton drivers, Lehman and Matthias. You guys had a bit of a ding-dong battle all the way through. But, okay, going into the last lap, we'll start with the guy who didn't die, which is Matthias. Go on.
AKA Ding
What do you have
Ding.
to say? What do you have to say for yourself?
I don't know if this racing or ping pong. He just completely turned into me like I wasn't
You
even there.
turned into
I
me.
don't know what was he thinking. He should probably learn how to drive in the next race because it's unacceptable behavior. And we will talk after. Definitely.
And
Yeah, bye, Matt.
and David, go on then. Because to be fair, myself and Maku, we saw it, but in all seriousness, what did happen into turn one between you two?
He
I
turned
mean, I
into
don't
me.
know. You have to ask him. He doesn't know how to move on track and drive at all.
I don't know.
think,
you have a
like,
very bad
no,
perception. You know.
no. I think you have very bad perception.
Okay, I mean, if it makes it any better, I can speak to league admins and give you both time penalty.
Yeah, 10
Ah.
seconds for him. I don't care.
He will get 25 seconds because he spun me in. I didn't spun him.
But I didn't turn into you.
Okay, let's say you
You
guys
did.
let's say you guys fall out, right? Who would each of you like to get as a replacement teammate?
I don't know. Probably anyone will be better than him. So whatever.
I mean, yeah, like Polish raps is certainly not the thing I really appreciate. So yeah, I think I would choose. That's a hard one. That's a tough one. That's a really tough one. I think I would go with myself as a teammate. I can drive
Wow.
on two steering wheels with no problem.
You will be crushing each other every lap because both you can drive. So
Both of me cannot drive. What do you
Yes.
say? You cannot drive.
No.
I'm not gonna lie, and I think Maku will agree
any
with
more
me.
questions?
Maku, I think this has been the best interview we've ever had.
Yeah, I think so.
Maku,
I think so as well.
Yeah, me too.
Oh wow, you guys agree on something. We made.
Yes.
Oh, I think
Yeah,
Maku and
we
we should
agree.
start counselling.
Yeah,
Um,
we agree on having a nice laugh now.
In all seriousness, though, heading into Abu Dhabi, you guys are closing in onto Mercedes and Red Bull in the championship. Do you guys reckon you can take second?
I mean,
I
if
certainly
we
can take him out. I don't know if we can take second.
if we drive like this, we probably won't jump them. So yes.
Oh, that's brilliant. Brilliant. Well, thank you guys very much for joining. It's been a pleasure to have you, and we look forward to seeing you at Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, thank you very much. That was a
Thank you.
good racing, apart from Lehman's behavior. Very good. I
No,
really enjoyed it.
but before we go off, do not make anything too serious. We are not actually serious right now.
Oh, you're
No,
spoiling
Come
it.
on, I'm
Spoilers.
serious. I'm serious, man.
What are you? Man, the thing that you don't know how to drive is not my problem. It's your problem.
All right, guys, we'll leave you to working out who's the worst driver between you two. But yeah, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Good.
Thank you.
Goodbye. Good night. Have a good night.
Alrighty then. Well, Maku, I think it's safe to say that those two Triton drivers definitely like to have a bit of a laugh.
Yeah. And obviously they completely hated each other.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, without a doubt, that's not made up in any way. Finally, a massive thank you over to Fodi Akus for providing us that really nice HUD that we did use throughout qualifying. And I think everyone in let's see that as well. If you want more info on how to get it for yourself, all the info is on this screen. You can go to wcp-series.com or you can just hit him up on YouTube and Twitter. Driver of the day is currently tied between Brownie and Formula Danny, and I'm sure Formula Danny might be a little bit tired of doing the hot lap videos for us by now. So I guess we'll get Brownie to do it for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Any final words, Maku, before we wrap things up here?
No, I think everything important is said, and I'm really excited for Abu Dhabi for the end of the season, and because Abu Dhabi is always a great track.
Well, thank you guys very much for joining us. Things have certainly heated up in the Constructors' Championship. There'll be a post coming out through on Twitter that will explain how the championship currently looks. As I say, that Formula Danny gets a third vote on the straw poll, so he is now our driver of the day. But thank you guys, everyone, very much for watching. Don't forget to hit ORL up with a follow on Twitter at @team_ORL. And until next time, guys, which will be next Thursday, 7:30 p.m. GMT, for the final race of season 11. Stay for the final race of season 11. Stay fast. See you next week.
Good evening.